It's hard for me to grade Jalen Hurts with the metrics that with the talent that he has around him. Hurts does not have to play elite for the Philadelphia Eagles to win. We're not asking you to win the game. We're just asking you not to lose it. But when you ask that question, are we winning because of you, solely because of you? Or is it the resources around you? So game changer, game manager, those are the things that you have to ask yourself. And those are the metrics that I'm going off of.
Okay, first of all, Kim, we got to talk about that set because that is
Crazy.
official.
Next level. That budget went up.
Official. It certainly did.
Yeah,
That
it's a big
sponsor
budget.
money's working.
It's a
All right, so you heard Cam, and he said part of why Jalen is so successful is all his offensive weapons. He's not putting him in as a top 10 quarterback.
Well, I think everybody gets to have their own list, right? But the way I look at a list is, okay, can you go above and beyond the X's and the O's? And Jalen Hurts can do that. Jalen Hurts has become one of the biggest red zone threats in all of football with his legs. He's a guy who can improvise and extend plays. And when you think back to the playoffs, there are huge Jalen Hurts runs. And then now we say, okay, is he a part of winning? Can we win because of him? Are there games that we can point to and say that Jalen Hurts put this team on his back? Jalen Hurts has not only put this team on his back, Jalen Hurts put this team on his back in 2 Super Bowls. Jalen Hurts outdoed and outplayed Patrick Mahomes. And so with that, we're looking at guys like Eli Manning, your dude, right?
Yeah.
And he's going to be a Hall of Famer. Why is Eli Manning going to be a Hall of Famer? Because he had 2 playoff runs where he beat the best in the game.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts have had those sorts of playoff runs on top of being second in MVP voting, on top of being an All-Pro, on top of being a 2-time Pro Bowler. And Cam Newton, who is making or who is saying, okay, this is about being a game changer, only went to the playoffs 4 times in his entire career. And I believe and I agree he was a game changer. Jalen Hurts has been to the playoffs 4 times in 5 years. I think the way that you fit into your team, the way that you lead your team, the way that you ingratiate yourself in that locker room, not only as a big-time player, but a leader, matters.
And clutch and poise under pressure and shows up when the moments are the biggest.
Yeah, Molly, to that point, and RC touched on it, but in the Super Bowl, 44 out of 60 in 2 games, 73% completion, 525 yards, and he also ran for another 142. When you take a weakness, guys, and turn it into a strength, again, he had a transfer in college because he wasn't good enough to play at Alabama. He's the bottom of a second-round pick, and now his completion percentage goes from 52 to 68%. That is inspiring, and you know he had to work his tail off to become much more accurate. And to me, like, he is rightly deserved to be in the top 5. Like, what else do you need to see from a guy, not to say he's not one of the best QBs in the game?
This is one of the things I hate most about the NFL, is that so often you look and treat a guy the way that they came in, right? He's a second-round pick, and you just automatically assume he's not as talented as these other guys. At some point, we have to trust our eyes. At some point, we have to trust the results. A quarterback's job is to lead under any circumstance and give your team hope, and in the biggest moments, you deliver to get them over the hump. To your point about him playing in 2 Super Bowls, there's only 21 quarterbacks in NFL history that have played in multiple Super Bowls. 18 of them are guaranteed Hall of Famers.
Before I bring in a very special guest that I have for you guys, a little surprise up my sleeve. You thought, I wasn't just going to return without anything. I bring gifts. I'm just curious, how many teams do you feel like have better offensive weapons than Jalen Hurts?
Not many. Like, when you look at who he has, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, obviously Saquon Barkley in the backfield, I would think that they have, to me, the best collection of a wide receiver duo and running back of all of the teams. Because you would have to say, does Dallas have a better trio? They don't. Does Cincinnati Bengals, even with Chase Brown, do they have a better trio? They don't. But the point is going out and winning. It's about being able to build these things, being able to amass these things, and having the sort of success that you're supposed to have. How many times do we see teams go make all of these moves in the offseason and we crown them offseason champions based on their roster, but they don't execute? And it's about executing when it matters. You can have a great season, but the one thing that Cam isn't alluding to, which he knows the pressure of being a quarterback in the Super Bowl. He knows the pressure of being a quarterback in the Super Bowl and being thought of, at least that year in 2015, as the best player in the world. And you have to show up. And the Kansas City Chiefs said, which they should have said, we won't let the best running back in football beat us. But you know who did? Jalen Hurts, the quarterback.
And Molly, you're asking the right question, but
Yeah.
that's where I think Cam Newton is off, which is he's almost penalizing Jalen Hurts
Yeah.
for having great teammates. And yet, like when the chips were stacked in the middle, he was at his best, and we should applaud that and we should respect that. He's looking for a way to knock him down because he has great teammates, and yet he did what he was supposed to do. He won the Super Bowl.
For forever, they said the same thing about Tom Brady early in his career.
Yeah.
That his roster was
You're right
carrying
about
him,
that.
Right? And so now you look, I'm not calling Jalen Hurts at this moment Tom Brady, but at some point you have to look at the entire body of work,
Yeah,
watch him
and
get
more
better
his
every
defense
year.
with Brady.
Yeah, defense.
Yeah, more
Yeah.
But it was
Run
defense,
game.
right?
Yeah.
But like all of that stuff builds into it. And I said this the day after he won the Super Bowl. He is on a Hall of Fame trajectory, as he sort of alluded to, right? When you think of Eli Manning had his second Super Bowl in his 7th year. Right, and in that 7th year, he wasn't, to me, as accomplished or thought of as highly as Jalen Hurts should be thought of. If he continues on this trajectory, he's going to waltz in to the Hall of Fame. And to say that that player isn't a top player in this league based on what he's accomplished, I think it's unfair to continue to move the goalposts.
I just have to say one thing before we bring in a special guest. I'm so happy everyone's enjoying this new studio, but these temperatures are out of control.
It's cold.
It is freezing.
It's cold.
I feel like when I was at my uncle's liquor store and we'd like hide in the cooler. It is freezing. We need to address.
Your uncle had a liquor store?
Yeah.
Like, can we?
Yeah, we used to play in the, you go hide in like the little coolers
I know
and
exactly
the
what
ice
you're
things.
talking about.
Yeah.
About a beer.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So, guys, I returned from vacation. I was off for a couple weeks. I don't know where our guest is. We're looking around where he's going to arrive from, but clearly he missed me because as soon as I come back, there he is. Our
Did you
guy.
miss me?
We did. Stephen A., how
you
did we
miss
get
me?
so lucky to have you this morning? How are you? And you don't need to tell us where you are because it's clearly not New York.
I thought about Molly being on vacation, and I thought about her missing me so much.
Yep.
And I thought about my man RC, and I thought about him missing me so much. and of course, Mr. CIA himself, I heard he was going to be on there and stuff like that. And, so I just said, I'm just going to chime in at my, I'm here in LA, and I just said, let me just chime in with the fellas. I miss y'all. I know I am missed, and let me just show my face just for a few minutes there, and that is why I am here. What's up, Pete?
Stephen A., I'm
What's
glad,
up?
though, I got to say one thing before we get back to it. I'm glad that you came back because there's some hot topics that happened that I definitely want to get your take on before you say goodbye.
He's the only man that won't allow you to compliment him.
Yeah, get out.
Because he gets in front of
Because he
it.
gets in front of it.
I know
Just
you
in
missed
case
it. You ain't
you
gotta say
missed
nothing.
it.
Why
He just
delay?
wants to have all the bases covered.
Why delay?
He plays ball control. You know what it is. You know what it is.
There's
All
no
right,
reason,
Stephen A., I wanna get your-
to delay. I mean, why wait for it?
Oh my goodness. S.A., I don't know what you heard, but I want to get your thoughts on the Hurts conversation. So our guy Cam Newton, obviously former Super Bowl MVP, said about Jalen Hurts that he's not you heard it, not a top 10 quarterback, and that he benefits so much from that talented offense that he has. Where are you on this conversation?
Well, Cam's wrong. I do think that Jalen Hurts is a top 10 quarterback in the National Football League right now. He's the reigning defending Super Bowl champion, and when you've called upon him to step up and produced on an elevated level, he has done so. So we got to give credit where credit is due with that and stop judging